The protocol mandated that I live as a vagrant for 20 years. In exchange, upon completion, I would be granted the power of an Apex Blade Master. Instead, I was picked off the streets by a crippled old man, a Tier 4 veteran named Carter, who dragged me back to his rundown faction, the Blue Cloud Outpost, to raise me. Pop, please, just let me go back to the streets. Give me 2 years, and I'll be the strongest weapon this world has ever seen. No. Why? Because I am the strongest weapon in the world. I had a HUD in my brain, the Vagrant Protocol. As long as I clocked in 20 years of destitution, I'd unlock God-tier combat abilities. Until then, aside from being biologically immortal, I was useless. From the civil wars to the unification of the Federation, and now, with the mutants hammering at the gates, I had spent 18 years drifting. Then came Carter, a limping old Taoist and retired frontline soldier, claiming to be the commander of Blue Cloud on Hunchback Hill. Aside from me, there were 2 other recruits. Sarah, the senior specialist with a fiery temper and Tier 2 abilities. And Lenny, the junior, a simple-minded kid barely scraping Tier 1. When Carter first dragged me in, I fought him every step of the way. I tried to sneak out constantly, but he always caught me. Every time he saw me acting crazy, trying to leave, tears would well up in his cloudy eyes, and he'd scream at the sky. Damn this broken world. Look what it's done to the boy's mind. He has a home, but he insists on begging. Then he'd turn to me. Kid, don't be scared. You're here now. Treat this as home. Eventually, my home was destroyed. Half of it by the invading mutant horde, the other half by the Federation government. Old man Carter always said the world was messy and wouldn't let me leave the hill. He'd go down to hunt mutants himself, selling the cores to buy energy supplements for Sarah and Lenny. The monsters at the bottom of the hill grew more aggressive every day, their level spiking. Years ago, when Carter came back, he'd look fresh, boasting, "Your old man is a blade master. Remember that." Lately, he'd come back covered in blood, his voice laced with embarrassment. When I was young, I was a blade master. Then, a megachurch called the Sanctuary of Grace was built right across from us. Those bald guys in robes charged low fees, worked fast, and had subsidies from President Sterling herself. We lost our livelihood. The real kicker? The sanctuary was built on our land. I begged Carter, "Pop, let me go out and beg. 2 years. I'll be an Apex Master. Then I'll show those chrome domes who's boss." No. Why? Because I am the Apex Master. Then please, Master Apex, figure out how we're going to eat. There is absolutely a solution. Carter thought for half a day, then finally pawned his service rifle and combat blade. He traded them with villagers for radish seeds. A cultivator planting radishes, a supposed blade master pawning his weapon. The joke reached the sanctuary across the valley, earning us their mockery. Sarah, explosive as she was, often stood hands on hips, screaming insults back at them. Lenny was even less subtle. He'd sneak over at night and throw rocks through the sanctuary's stained glass windows. When the disciples caused trouble, Carter would go apologize, then come back and tell us to avoid those shady monks. He said his time was coming, that he needed to go into deep meditation to break through to the next tier. He told us to tend to radishes and stay out of trouble. When he hit Tier 5, we'd smash their temple together and have a celebratory radish stew. Carter went into the isolation bunker and went silent. Later, the mutant horde launched a full-scale invasion. Countless aerial drones and fighters screamed over our heads. Thousands of soldiers rushed to the front. The radishes ripened. We opened the bunker door and found the letter he'd left. Only then did we realize Carter had gone to the perimeter wall long ago. In his youth, he was a hot-blooded soldier. When the mutants provoked us, he was the first to grab his sword. Later, after losing his leg and having his pension stolen by the government, he retired. Now, a cripple without a weapon, he joined a civilian militia and marched back to the front lines. 3 months later, Blue Cloud received a notification. Carter was dead. The front lines were starved of ammo and food, while President Sterling played house with her boy toys in the Capitol, ignoring the State of the Union. She betrayed the soldiers dying on the perimeter. 6,000 deployed, and in less than half a year, 4,000 were gone. My master, Carter, was among them. Everyone else retreated. He didn't. He led a squad of wounded stragglers and held the line. Facing an army of high-level mutant warlords, where Tier 4 fighters were cannon fodder, I don't know where he found the courage. He picked up a sword from the mud, propped up his broken body, and walked onto the ramparts alone. Before he died, he shouted something incredibly cheesy. "Carter of Blue Cloud Outpost, Hunchback Hill, stands guard. Who dares approach?" My master died. Later, we found out the president had practically ordered the hit. His body was hung on the wall as a warning. The white radishes in the yard were ready, but he never got to eat them. His last wish in the letter was for us to redeem his pawned blade and build him a cenotaph. But Blue Cloud was broke. Unless we got our land back from the sanctuary. Lenny went to argue with him and got beaten up. Sarah knew she couldn't beat them in a fight, so under the cover of night, she left Blue Cloud. She said she was going to the front to bring Carter's body home. A Tier 2 woman, having that kind of guts. I didn't understand why the bald dog from the sanctuary still had the nerve to steal our radishes. I had no powers, so Lenny took up the responsibility of defending the garden. He said if the master could defend humanity, he could defend a vegetable patch. Lenny told me that once Sarah brought the body back, he planned to go to the perimeter too, to make a name for himself. I was confused. You're barely Tier 1. What's the point? Lenny said, Sarah's a girl, and she has that kind of courage. I'm a man. Why can't I try? Hey, when the war settles down, how about I tell Sarah how you feel? I covered his mouth. Everyone knew Lenny loved Sarah, but we never said it out loud. Saying it now felt like a death flag. When Sarah came back, she was hanging on by a thread, clutching Carter's severed head to her chest, refusing to let go. There wasn't a patch of unscarred skin on her body. Lenny, who had loved her for so long, had to watch her die in front of him. That night, he cried for hours in front of their graves. He roared at the sky, "Damn mutants! I'm coming for you!" His screaming disturbed the sanctuary monks coming to steal radishes. Lenny lost it. He fought them, got beaten to a pulp, and died from his injuries. 1 outpost, 3 tombstones. My entire family buried in the dirt. I remembered how Carter used to come home injured. We had a system. Sarah washed the blood out of his fatigues. Lenny applied medical paste to his wounds. I had the worst attitude because I blamed him for stopping my vagrant grind, but I always boiled the hot water for him. Back then, I just called him Old Man Carter. I sat in the yard for a long time, thinking about the past. Now my home was gone. The chrome domes from the sanctuary came to provoke me. They stomped me into the dirt. I had to watch as they dug up Carter's tombstone, kicked his hard-earned resting corpse around like a soccer ball. They dug up Sarah and Lenny too, hanging their bodies from the rafters. A garbage outpost occupying such prime real estate on Hunchback Hill. They deserved to die by mutants. Tui, the high priest, a Tier 5 heavyweight, gripped my skull, cursing. I felt like my head was going to explode, but I didn't beg. I spat in his face. If you were a real man with a pair, you'd be at the perimeter arm-wrestling mutants. Before I finished, the high priest laughed like he'd heard the funniest joke in the world. The perimeter? Ha. Screw the perimeter. President Sterling already ceded the perimeter to the Horde to stop the war. It's not the human wall anymore. It's the mutant wall. His robes were threaded with gold. I thought the world was getting better, but it was just rotting from the inside. I was thrown off Hunchback Hill, my heart filled with grief and rage. The massacre of Blue Cloud, the death of 4,000 border guards, it was all just a joke in the president's hands. Down in the city below, wailing filled the air. It was a slaughterhouse. Everyone's eyes glowed with a bloodthirsty red hunger, staring at the stumbling pedestrians. The moment someone fell, basic humanity vanished. People swarmed to tear them apart, sucking the marrow from their bones. Defeated soldiers and refugees turned the Federation into a living hell. This was my second time down the mountain in 2 years. Only now did I realize how well Carter had protected us. We were poor, but we weren't eating each other. Now I had no home, no attachments. I picked up a cracked bowl from the roadside and started my grind. 2 years, just 2 years, and I would be the world's greatest weapon. During those 2 years, the mutants grew restless again, raiding the borders. This time, fewer soldiers volunteered. There were no more jets screaming overhead. President Sterling hadn't just lost the physical wall. She'd lost the wall in the people's hearts. Millions in taxpayer credits flowed out of the treasury, not to build defenses, but to build temples and statues. Looking at the massive glass and neon Buddha the sanctuary had built, I thought of the headless statue of our founder back at Blue Cloud. The 3 of us had urged Carter to hire a mason to fix it. His response was always, "The founder is formless. Today it could be you, tomorrow me. Instead of fixing a dead rock, let's trade for some grain and fill our bellies." But President Sterling just couldn't understand that logic. She'd rather polish dead statues than feed living citizens. I realized the places I needed to visit weren't just the sanctuary, but the presidential palace too. When I begged for the very last copper coin with my broken bowl, the protocol's voice finally chimed in my brain. Ding. Host has completed 20 years of the Vagrant Protocol, unlocking Omega-class blade authority. In an instant, 5-colored auroras erupted from my skull, piercing the sky. Purple storm clouds rolled in from the horizon. The apex blade had arrived. I stood at the foot of the mountain and walked up, step by step. Hunchback Hill was harder to climb than I remembered. 13,452 steps. Carter walked this path countless times. He was afraid of wasting combat energy he'd need for the mutants, so he'd fly a little, then walk a little. He never complained. Now, walking his path, I finally understood the bitterness of it. Such a kind, stubborn old man. And even in death, they wouldn't let him rest. Everyone in the sanctuary of grace needed to die. When I reached the summit, Blue Cloud was gone. In its place was a latrine, reeking to high heaven. A guard dog, eating happily near the sewage pit, barked at me. I didn't say a word. I slapped it aside with a wave of air. Two novice monks guarding the gate saw me. Ignoring their yelping dog, they started sneering. The high priest palm strike didn't kill you, trash. Look, the Blue Cloud garbage wants revenge. No power, no money, so he beats up a dog. Years ago, I had no power. I took their insults. I came back for blood. Now that I was an Omega-class entity, why would I take their crap? I picked up a fallen branch, and with a flick of my wrist, blew the roof off the entire sanctuary complex. The two novices pissed their pants instantly, stammering threats through tears. WW, what are you doing? Our high priest is a tier 5 master. We have the president's backing. You want to die? I smirked. The president? How many blade masters could she command? The novices fainted from the pressure. High priest Julian, sensing the commotion, floated out from the main hall. This time, realizing I was different, he was polite, pressing his palms together. Sir, what is the meaning of this? Revenge, I said flatly. Surely you're joking. Do I look like I'm joking? I replied cold as ice. The more I looked at this calm, arrogant old man, the hotter my blood burned. 2 years have passed. Coming for revenge now. Isn't that a bit petty? How about I perform a prayer service for your fallen friends, and we call it even? Prayer service? You need bodies for that. Where are they? Julian's face turned ugly. Someone beside him couldn't hold back and shouted, Those 3 Blue Cloud losers? We fed them to the dogs ages ago. Keep causing trouble, and my staff will show no mercy. Without a word, I flicked a wave of kinetic energy. The monk who insulted my family exploded into a red mist. Sir, you go too far. The sanctuary's foundation is not something you can underestimate. I'm underestimating you. So what? Then we shall see who breaks first. Julian's eyes turned red. He gripped his gilded staff, chanting mantras. His energy spiked, hitting tier 6 deity class. A massive holographic avatar, hundreds of feet tall, manifested behind him. The angry deity form. Let's see how a 20-something kid handles a full power strike from a tier 6. The sycophant behind Julian had just finished his commentary when I took a step forward. Taking a hit from a tier 6 was nothing. I grabbed Julian by the collar, dragged him to the open cesspit, and dunked him. I held him there until he choked down a few mouthfuls. He finally broke, bubbling up from the filth, gasping, What do you want? You, and everyone who destroyed my master's grave, who kicked his head, who beat my brother, who desecrated their bodies, who stole our radishes. Get out here. I screamed with everything I had, my voice shaking the heavens. Inside the sanctuary, monks with lower durability literally exploded from the sonic pressure. 72 people in the sanctuary. The weakest was a high-tier novice. The strongest was the shit-eating high priest in my hand. 21 of them had participated in the events back then. Any one of them was stronger than Carter had been, but not a single one had a fraction of his courage. I believe in an eye for an eye. The first to die was Julian, the ringleader. I stripped his powers in front of his disciples, shattered every bone in his body, and threw him off the mountain. The remaining 21, some begged, some fought back. I sent them all to meet their God. In one day, I flattened the sanctuary of grace. The guilty were tortured to death. The bystanders were cut down with a single stroke. Before I left, I minced that dog I'd slapped. Then I pulled every single radish from their garden. Master wanted to eat one so badly before he died. Now he was gone, bone and body, and I didn't even have a grave to offer them to. Pop, tell me, was it worth it, defending this country for these people? What's so great about that wall? I had to go see it, sit on it, not for me, but for you guys, to vent some anger, and to take back the thing my master gave his life to protect. I stepped onto my floating blade, turning into a streak of rainbow light heading north. The destination, White Jade City, the last of the 4 border fortresses. If it fell, the mutants could march straight into the Federation's heartland. Humans and mutants meet on the chopping block. The absurd part? Only 3,000 battered soldiers were guarding it. With 160,000 mutants about to breach, President Sterling hadn't sent a single reinforcement. I landed in the city. Corpses everywhere. Seeing I was there to help, the lead officer didn't ask my name or rank. He just welcomed me into the command tent. I am Zhao, Tier 6. May I ask, friend, how many troops did you bring? What is your level? Just me. Class, Omega. I replied. Zhao's excitement froze on his face, then melted into a sigh. Fine. Years ago, when the president seeded the perimeter, I knew the heroes of this world had given up. For you to come alone, on behalf of the citizens, I thank you. Zhao was about to kneel when a high-pitched voice screeched from outside the tent. Where is Zhao? Come receive the executive order. Zhao is here. Did the president send reinforcements? The eunuch messenger gave Zhao a weird look and unrolled the scroll. By order of the president, Commander Zhao of White Jade City is ordered to retreat and return to the capital within 3 days to report. End of order. Received. Zhao pounded his chest, then grabbed the messenger's sleeve. Sir, did she send a relief force? The Golden Guard and the demon hunters in the capital are elite. The messenger dodged Zhao's intense gaze, mumbling, General Zhao, don't ask. The president has ceded all 4 border cities to the Horde. The Federation, well. Zhao's eyes blazed with fury. The cold wind made the tired old soldier look desolate. How could this be? I brought 8,000 brothers out here, and I only have 3,000 left. How could she just give it away? What about the citizens? What about the families behind us? Damn it, does she think I want to be here? I'm doing it for my family back home. That senile old hag, she's lost her damn mind. Hearing him curse the president without filter, I knew Zhao planned to disobey orders and die fighting. He held up the executive order and walked among the battered troops, shouting, the president wants to give away our city. I, Zhao, do not agree. Do you agree? The soldiers looked at each other in silence. No one dared to speak. Facing the silence, Zhao did something unthinkable. He tore the silk scroll to shreds right in front of them. Once White Jade falls, the Horde marches straight into the heartland to rape and butcher your wives and daughters. I ask again, do you agree? Zhao's defiance lit a fire in them. Soldiers living on the edge of death roared in unison. We do not agree. If we don't agree, what do we do? Kill. Are you afraid to die? Death holds no fear. Good. You really are the men who crawled out of the corpse piles with me. Real men with stones. Listening to their call and response, I finally understood why my master was willing to stand on that wall and shout his name. If not for the corrupt leader in the high tower, then for the small light burning in the window of a home behind him. As the massive mutant army began its march, my Omega-level power surged out like a tsunami. Zhao shook his iron tower frame and looked at me. Stranger, are you really an Omega class? Did I ever say I wasn't? I smiled at him, tapped my toe, and floated up to the ramparts. Stranger, what is your name? Zhao shouted after me. Before, I was a nobody, but now it was different. Pop, you were right. The Apex Master is you, not me. From now on, I am Carter. I didn't look back. One hand behind my back, sword at the ready, I stood on the wall and let out a long howl at the 160,000 troops in front of me. Carter of Blue Cloud Outpost, Hunchback Hill, stands guard. Who dares approach? Maybe it was my shout, but the morale of the 3,000 survivors spiked. In moments, they rushed the wall, standing shoulder to shoulder with me. Zhao of Stone Creek, Tier 6, stands here. Zhao landed steadily beside me. Dew of Willow City, Tier 5, stands here. My cultivation is low, only Tier 3, but I'm a man, ready to die. I don't have the equipment downstairs, but I'm still a man. At that moment, even a messenger from the capital clumsily climbed onto the wall. His declaration drew a laugh, but no one questioned his resolve anymore. The battle exploded. Countless energy blasts rained down on the wall. Many came from Tier 7 monsters. I blocked their attacks with a casual swing of my sword. But the shockwaves made the city tremble. Just as I prepared to snipe the 2 Tier 7 commanders, I saw a terrifying aura rise from the enemy's central tent. The Horde Warlord, a Tier 8 entity, had finally made his move. He recalled the 2 commanders and flew out to face me. On his order, the entire army ceased fire. Zhao and the others formed a defensive formation, trying to intercept him outside the walls. It was futile. A tiny Tier 6 dares to shake the tree. The warlord glared at Zhao, and Zhao was flung backward like a kite with a cut string. Oomph. A human ant dares to face me. That single glance nearly killed Zhao. But the warlord didn't finish him. He turned to introduce himself to me. Human, I am Mesh, Marshal of the Horde. Shall we talk? No. I smirked. rising 300 feet into the air. I brought my sword down. The shockwave shredded the enemy formation instantly. You see my power. Do you think a little tier 8 has the qualification to negotiate with me? I looked down at Mesh, showing zero respect. Invaders only deserve to see the dirt on my boots. Mesh kept smiling, but under my absolute suppression, I could feel his killing intent spiking. What? Cat got your tongue? If you have nothing to say, get lost. Another sword strike. Another 10,000 mutants erased. I gave him a cold warning. I'll give you 3 seconds to take your army and run. After 3, not even God can save you. 1. Young man, are you interested in working for the Horde? 2. You won't kill me. If you kill me, your president won't forgive you. Feeling my sword intent rising, Mesh's voice began to tremble. 3. Retreat. I'm retreating immediately. Mesh panicked and turned to flee. Did he really think I let him go? The moment he led an army across the border, he was a dead man walking. I flashed forward. 1 strike. In the blink of an eye, the marshal commanding 160,000 troops was sliced in half. White Jade City held. Zhao was the only casualty, injured from a fall. Everyone celebrated, feasting on supplies looted from the mutant corpses. After the meal, a worried Zhao messaged me telepathically. Friend, they retreated this time. But if they come back, what do we do? Don't worry. Tonight, I'm going to take back what belongs to us. I'm taking back the human wall. And while I'm at it, I'll take the mutant emperor's head. That night, while the city slept, I left. 16,000 routed troops, plus 100,000 garrison elites, plus 3 tier 9 ancestor-level monsters sent by the royal court, and 60,000 high-tier regulars. I learned from them that the mutant emperor had issued a kill order. At any cost, they were to kill the young human blade master. He overthought it. I only needed 1 strike to shatter the dreams of those 3 tier 9 ancestors. They hid among the army, terrified. Carter, you have power, sure, but can you really kill 320,000 elites in 1 breath? He was right. I couldn't kill them all in 1 breath. So I took a second breath. 1 sword, 2 breaths, 3 moves. I took back the wall from my master. I stepped on the chest of a tier 9 monster, keeping my face calm. Want to live? He nodded furiously. Go back and tell your emperor to wash his neck and wait for me. Yes, yes. Thank you, master, for sparing me. Just as he relaxed, thinking he'd survived, I obliterated his soul. Never mind. I'll tell him myself. 1 man holding the pass, pointing a sword at the mutant capital, wiping out 3 generations of their lineage. This should be enough to make the blue cloud name legendary, right? Before leaving the wall for the mutant capital, I used my finger to carve a message into the stone. Blue Cloud Outpost. Carter, Sarah, Lenny. Guarded this place. A memorial. Just as the mutants faced their apocalypse, 12 executive orders flew from the capital into my hands. Delivered along with them was the head of that messenger. Me, him, and the 3,000 defenders of White Jade were now wanted criminals. President Sterling's demand was simple. Come back to the capital to surrender, or the 3,000 soldiers die. I agreed, right after I ripped the mutant emperor's head off. But Zhao died anyway. I wore a bamboo hat and stood at the gates of the capital, a city that looked prosperous and peaceful to the blind world. Several elite guards scrutinized every pedestrian, terrified of missing me, the state's most wanted. When it was my turn, I snatched the wanted poster from their hands. Ugly. Looked nothing like me. I took off the hat, revealing my face. The peaceful atmosphere shattered. I had made it clear, I won't hurt you. Go get Sterling. I have words for her. But they didn't seem to understand. They called for backup, formed formations, swore to capture me. Since they wouldn't let the president come to me, I didn't mind walking a few extra steps to kick down the door of the palace. At first, they sent a few thousand mid-tier troops. They failed. I didn't want to hurt civilians, so I dodged them without killing. Then, 20,000 golden guards surrounded the palace. I could see the fear in their eyes. I was the criminal, but they were the ones shaking. Why? I asked myself, what crime did I commit? Disobeying an order? Treason? Breaking the peace treaty? The response was a line from the executive order. First purge the internal threat, then resist the external enemy. I agreed. It was time to purge the internal threat. I hated Sterling to the bone. Stealing pensions, appeasing mutants. Instead of defense, she spent the budget on boy toys. The demon hunters, an elite unit, were kept in the capital for political infighting instead of fighting the war. She truly was old and senile. Moo. I was annoyed. I didn't want to talk anymore. I released my killing intent. I took 1 step, they took 3 back. I walked all the way to the royal path outside the throne room before someone finally attacked. a transcendent level aura, a golden Buddha avatar piercing the clouds, the bald man in the black robe, the state preceptor, the grand architect. He walked toward me, palms pressed together, chanting, Amida, put down the butcher's knife, child, and you may yet escape the sea of suffering. Do not be like the 3,000 bandits of white jade, or the fools on the wall who refused liberation. Refusing to let go, they threw their lives away for nothing. My heart skipped a beat. I squinted at this bald hypocrite spouting morals. Bandits? Fools? That's what you call them. Are they not? If they had laid down their weapons, I believe we could have touched the hearts of the mutants and brought peace. The president gave the order. If they didn't retreat, they were rebels. I had no choice but to send them to hell. Hearing this, blood rushed to my brain. Years ago at the wall, it was him who killed my master. They gave their lives to stop the invasion, to save this country, and they died by your hand. Do you feel no shame? Seeing my killing intent spike, the grand architect continued. The mutants live in a harsh, cold wasteland. Our Federation is rich. Ceding some land is only fair. It is a necessary step to enlighten the world. If you will not listen to my teachings, I also know a little kung fu. As he finished speaking, a massive golden palm pressed down toward my head. The shadow covered the entire capital. Leave now, child, or this hand will flatten the city. I tilted the tip of my sword upward. The architect's face shifted to disbelief. He pressed down with both hands, but couldn't move the projection an inch. Rise! An Omega-class blade master is invincible even in the heavens, let alone on earth where my word is law. As I spoke, every temple in the capital was ripped from the ground, floating up behind my sword tip. Dust and debris rained down on the streets. Gold and jade statues shattered into millions of pieces. Any single fragment could have fed a family for months, yet Sterling used them to please this monk. Laughable. The tens of thousands of surrounding troops watched, frozen. If anyone doubted I killed 3 ancestors before, they knew now. Architect, it's time to die. Wait. No. This monk admits his fall. I didn't wait for him to beg. With one move, I pierced the giant avatar, shattering his courage and his soul. On the pure gold throne, the white-haired President Sterling was feeding a grape to a young, pale novice monk, drawing out a string of saliva. If I hadn't interrupted, they would have kept going. 60 versus 16. Doing that in front of the court. She really had no shame. Seeing me, Sterling glared. Audacious rebel, daring to break into the court and disturb my meditation with the holy child. It's him, the one who bewitched the president to build temples and ignore the state. I ignored her and addressed the ministers. Silence in the hall. Your Highness, did this monk bewitch you? Sterling didn't answer, continuing to fawn over the boy. The novice finally asked, Sterling, he asked you a question. Did I bewitch you? Sterling shook her head frantically. Never, never. Don't be angry. I'll have him arrested. Guards, guards, summon the grand architect. Sterling stood up, commanding the room, but no one moved. Are you revolting? Where's the architect? Capture this madman. Are you looking for him? I waved my hand, and the architect's head flew into the hall. The architect is a divine being. How could? Sterling collapsed onto the throne. The young novice went pale. Your Highness, this maniac killed my master. You must execute him for me. The boy tugged at her sleeve, eyes teary. Disgusting. Noisy. I gave him a look, and he exploded into a cloud of blood mist. The culprit who nearly destroyed the Federation. His blood really did stink. Guards, arrest him. Demon hunters, Golden Guard, whoever kills this rebel, I will make them rich. No one moved. Instead, the ministers took a step back, opening a path for me. I walked toward the throne, step by step. I ask you, did you cede the wall? Did you give away the 4 border cities? It was the architect. He gave the order. It has nothing to do with me. I ask again, the soldiers left on the wall, the 3,000 at White Jade. Who killed them? The architect. It was him. Oh, he killed them. I turned to glare at the court officials. If I don't get the truth today, you all die too. After a moment of terrified glances, an old minister with white hair pointed at Sterling and screamed. It was her, that which gave the order. It was this woman who ruined the nation, favoring boys over defense. After ceding the wall, to please the mutants, she sent the architect to execute every surviving defender. And the 3,000 at White Jade. She ordered that too. Sterling's eyes bulged. She shrieked in her raspy voice. It was just a few dozen crippled soldiers. If they didn't leave the wall in time, the mutants would have blamed the whole Federation, the whole race. Didn't leave in time? You say they didn't leave in time. They were the rear guard. They were slow. I was afraid of angering the horde. I did it for the country. Her voice got quieter until only she and I could hear it. So, if not for her order, my master wouldn't have died. Blue Cloud would still be here. I searched for revenge for so long, and the mastermind was right in front of me, sitting on the throne. I hated her for destroying my home. I hated her for killing my family. Half died by mutant hands. The other half died by the Federation's hand. The moment Sterling's head flew into the air, the whole world seemed to go quiet. In that instant, my mind drifted. I felt like I was back in that quiet afternoon. Old man Carter pawned his sword for seeds. Sarah was cursing while tilling the rocky soil. Lenny was being chased off to carry manure. I was boiling the last of our grain, waiting for them to come eat. Finally, I returned to Hunchback Hill. I rebuilt Blue Cloud Outpost. Here, my family lies at rest. Story complete.